deserve half of that.
Hey, internets! It's Jake from Mini Terrain Domain, and this is Legends and Legacies, a Tales of Phandelver campaign that is now in episode 2, Goblin Arrows. And right before we went live, it looks like Yvonne got in there with the meta subscription to earn another domain die, putting you up to 9 domain dice. And I just saw that Mim93 has resubscribed for 3 months. Thank you, Mim93 and Yvonne, for your subscriptions. That puts you guys at 10 domain dice. And in just a moment, we are going to go into the details of what the domain dice do, how the players can use them, and how you, the viewer, can contribute to the fate of the players and the game through domain dice. First, I want to do a couple of super quick announcements. If you look down in the lower left-hand corner, just below Brian on the screen as Undertow, you'll see 2 logos, one for Jasper's Game Day and one for Initiative Coffee Company. Jasper's Game Day is an organization that was started right here in Michigan by a young lady by the name of Fenway, the Teen DM. The organization is dedicated to raising awareness and prevention of suicide through tabletop gaming. And it's an organization that I am proud to be partnered with. We are proud to be partnered with. So if you type !Jasper in the chat as our moderator Fellowship of the Tables has already done, you will see a link that allows you to donate directly to Jasper's Game Day. Any money you donate to that organization, know that those funds go to directly fund crisis centers, suicide crisis centers around the country. To that same goal, Mini Terrain Domain has partnered with Initiative Coffee Company, which happens to be the endeavor of Brian, who plays Undertow. So it's actually pure coincidence that I placed him above the Initiative Coffee Company logo. But as Fellowship of the Tables has already done, typing !Coffee in the chat gives you a direct link to where you can purchase Metade Roast Coffee, a medium Brazilian and Peruvian roast coffee that I personally, along with the help of Brian and my good buddy Dwight, we selected the roast to represent the brand. For every 12-ounce bag that you purchase, $3 of that goes to benefit Jasper's Game Day. I'll see what I can do about that. Fellowship of the Tables, trying in the chat, trying to type !beer. Let's see what we can do to get a partnership going there. In the meantime, be sure to check out the Initiative Coffee Company offerings. Beyond just the Metade roast, there's other great roasts that are available through the help action, as well as just check out their website. Check out the website while you're there. Lots of great stuff. It's coffee. You can't go wrong. If you look down in the lower right-hand corner, below Todd there, you will see the D&D Beyond logo. Mini Terrain Domain is powered by D&D Beyond. D&D Beyond has granted us insider access, which allows us to... I run all of my D&D games now using D&D Beyond. I have multiple tabs open on my other monitor here, and I run all of my stat blocks and the source materials and maps and everything using that tool. Plus, you can mouse over your window if you're watching on the computer, and you will see all of their characters pop up. And you can click through on those characters. You can see what kind of conditions they have, how they built their characters, etc. So thank you to D&D Beyond for hooking us up with that. Domain dice. You'll see a scroll going along the bottom of the screen, and you will see, if you type in domain dice or !domain dice in the chat, there'll be a full menu of what those are. If you look up above Karen's head, Karen is in the upper, or over here on this side playing melee, you will see the logo and several domain nuggets. Currently, they have 10 domain nuggets. Those are awarded to the players by you, the viewer, or in the case of Yvonne, and I've since learned from Mike, those are meta subscriptions, but hey, subscriptions are subscriptions. Through subscriptions, raids, resubscriptions, a $5 tip through the donations button down below the stream, or through a 500-bit cheer, you can purchase domain dice for the players. They can spend 1 domain die to re-roll any d20 roll and take the new roll. They can spend 2 domain dice to force me, the DM, to re-roll a d20 roll and take the new roll. 3 domain dice will allow them to, per person, will allow them to spend hit dice outside of a rest. 4 domain dice will allow you to turn a failed death saving throw into a success. Unless it is a critical failure, that's going to cost you 8 domain dice to turn into a success. And what we call the Patron's Blessing, 5 domain dice will allow you to turn any hit into a super crit. That is an automatic 2 times max damage hit. And it costs you 5 domain dice to do that. Did you guys use last session? Did you use the option to use hit dice outside of healing? Or did you just take a short rest? I don't remember.
I think we short rested.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, you're pretty much getting started, so you haven't had the chance to do that. But nonetheless, those are how the domain dice work. Now, just 2 more things real quick. And for future reference, I'm hoping to have time this weekend to do it. I'm recording a lot of these announcements to run during the break so we can get to the gaming a lot sooner. But these are important announcements. There is a new text command in the chat. If you type !merch, or you click on the merch store panel below the stream, you will be taken to the new Mini Terrain domain merch store at teespring.com/stores/Mini Terrain domain, where we have a plethora of shirts, including the Mini Terrain domain logo, the Cholta personality, the Dawnbringers logos. Soon to be released, this logo you see up here, Legends and Legacies Tales of Phandelver, will be available as a shirt, along with some inside jokes like Ham or Die. There's a new Bardic College design, and there's a classic, or rather a new take on a classic design, the Green Devil Face, custom designed for the Cholta personality game by none other than Locrius of Locrius Planetoid. So be sure to check that out and get yourself some t-shirts, or they're available in a variety of colors and styles. Mine are on the way. So soon I will be wearing some of those as well. And finally, this is probably the most important announcement. That's why I'm saving it for last, so it sticks fresh in your mind. If you are watching this game tonight with us and you find yourself struggling and you need somebody to talk to, please do not hesitate to reach out to someone. You can, at any time during the stream, you can type !help in the chat, and some information will come up, as Fellowship of the Tables has just done. And there are some numbers there where trained professionals are standing by to talk to you, and we encourage you to use those. You can call in the United States 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, the National Suicide Hotline at 1-800-273-TALK. That's 1-800-273-8255. Or you can text 741-741. In Canada, you can reach the crisis text line by texting CONNECT for English or PARLER for French to 686-868. Or you can call the toll-free number 1-833-456-4566, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and those last 2 numbers are, of course, for our friends in Canada. Please do not be afraid to make the call, as Cajun Kevin has just said. Those numbers are there for you We care about you, and we want you to get help if you need it. All right. That concludes the announcements portion. Let's play some Dungeons and Dragons. All right, so in our recent sessions, this is session 2, episode 2. It's technically session 3 because we had a session 0 where we did a little bit of question and answer and getting to know the characters, and then we rolled right into some role play and set up the adventure hooks and got them started on their quest. These 5 adventurers all met up at the southern gate of Neverwinter. They all come from their various backgrounds. They have their own secrets, their own goals, their own aspirations. All of them were looking to make their way out of town and took a little side gig. A dwarf by the name of Gundren Rockseeker and his human friend Sildar Hallwinter hired the party and their 2 horses to haul a wagon load of mining supplies to the town of Phandelver, a town that is located a couple days' journey south along the Tribord Trail, or along the high road to the Tribord Trail, a road that Collie knows all too well, as he is in fact from the town of Phandelver. And as such, this party is heading there. They were paid in advance some gold, and their horses were hired for a few gold, and they were told that if they wished, they could sell their horses to an individual in Phandelver, one Barathan. Barthen. Jeez. His name begins with a B. Chances are Collie knows who he is. En route, they had a little bit of discussion, and they did a little bit of scouting ahead when they shifted onto the Tribord Trail and discovered, around a bend in the road, 2 dead horses with thick black arrows, many of them sticking out of them. The road passed by a copse of trees, and the grassy hills rose on either side, creating a channel. They rightly sensed that this could be the location of an ambush, and were attacked by a group of goblins, a couple of which came running at them, and a couple that plunked at them with arrows from up in the trees. Collie took a few arrow shots, went down a couple times. A couple others managed to completely avoid getting hurt. There was a handful of wounds, a couple scary moments of unconsciousness. In the end, 4 goblins were killed, and 1 goblin took off running into the woods. They let this goblin go, not wanting to chase after him, and they considered what they would do next, whether they would continue on and deal with it later or go back the way they came. But when they went up to investigate the horses, they found that the horses belonged to Gundren Rockseeker and Sildar Hallwinter, and that the supplies had been taken from them, and they could see that both men had been dragged away. While Collie tended to wounds, Scurry slept in the wagon, and Undertow and Tara kept watch. Mei Li scouted ahead, following the tracks of the goblin that headed off into the woods. They checked the immediate area, and they had seen that in the same direction, it looked like these men had been carried. The goblins headed off. Mei Li went about 10 minutes up the trail, picking her way carefully, but not carefully enough, when she suddenly heard a pew and found herself hanging upside down about 10 feet above the forest floor, dangling from a tree, while the rest of her party is back at the road with the wagon load of supplies and the horses, and are none the wiser. And that is where we are going to pick up now. Scurry, it is not surprising that you have been sleeping so much, given that in the days and weeks leading up to your hooking up with this group of would-be adventurers, you had previously been captured by some merchant traders and had been their captive. And you were very wary hiding out in the streets, and had spent much of your time at a very heightened state of anxiety and fear. Once you got outside of the city and began traveling along the road, the rhythmic creaking and rattle of the wagon and the comfortable spot you found across the canvas tarp that was draped over the supplies, you found yourself drifting off to a deep, dreamless sleep. You've slept much of the last day and a half. It's probably the fact that the cart hasn't been moving for a good at least an hour that you finally find yourself rousing from sleep, curled up in the back of this wagon. What do you do?
Scurry reaches up. She stretches her claws. She scratches up against the wooden posts of the the cart. What did I miss? Anyone? No? Nothing? I turn. So I have Collie, Undertow, and Tara that I can see from the cart, correct?
Yes, they're all either in the cart, on the cart, or near the cart.
My blue companion, what did I miss?
My friend, we've been attacked and assaulted by, I believe the word goblin came up. Goblin?
Goblins. It sounds horrible.
Why
didn't you wake me?
You just looked so adorable there sleeping. I figured that we would only wake you if it involved scritches. I don't know. It occurs to me that we could have woken you, but that slipped our minds somehow.
Yeah. Yes. Next time. Look around. Do I? So can I see? Does Cully still have arrows or wounds or?
No, I took care of that.
You are masterful. That is why you come from Mazika. That's why we worship you. Yes. Very good.
What?
Yes, you are the blue god of Mazika. Yes. That's why I came to you. That's why I sought your guidance.
Yes.
Yes.
Of course, I am a god. I am the
a very short god. Yes.
I represent the divine will of one such deity. Yes.
Whatever you say. Yes. So, can someone tell what are we doing? Why are we in the middle of the road?
Well, we were taking a breather.
Oh, yes.
You maybe don't need such a breather. Melee took off maybe 20 minutes ago. How long has it been, Jake?
I'd say it's been about 15 minutes since Melee left.
Melee took off 2 or 3 deep breaths ago, and hasn't been. She went out to kind of search ahead and scout around and see where the goblin went, in hopes that we could track them back to other goblins.
These goblins, do they taste good? I'm kind of hungry.
Oh, I actually, while you were sleeping, we passed a small creek, and I found for you a delightful treat that I got just for you.
Yes.
And I pull out like this wet rock that has like this algae kind of covering it. And I say, my understanding is your folk enjoy eating the goop off rocks. So
no, we like fish that are in the stream, but close. Oh. Good try.
Well, I'm very embarrassed.
I would. I
Where I'm
reach
from,
out.
all the cats.
I take the rock and I say, thank you for the kind gesture.
I'm sorry, where I'm from, all the cats they feed on the algae on the rocks,
Of
and then
course,
other fish eat the
yes.
cat. I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Kind gesture, yes. Should we go look for Meili, or are you worried about her?
It's only
Is
been
the
about 15 minutes.
i-
I don't feel like there's any reason to worry at this point.
is the Cully that tried to capture me? Is he dead?
No,
No, I'm right here.
he's
Oh,
bleeding
what
a
a
bit
shame.
forward, that's all.
Yeah. Did you
What
get
a
out of those ropes? Did you get out of your binds?
My binds, I was sleeping.
Oh.
Stupid human.
Oh, sorry.
I say that under my breath.
Sorry. Oh, you got out. Oh, you slipped them. It's all right. I got shot by arrows. It's okay.
So I guess hearing all this, Jake, Scory's gonna get out of the wagon, look around. What does she see?
Excuse me. There's still about, if I remember correctly, there was about 50 or 60 feet ahead in the road are 2 dead horses with thick black goblin arrows sticking out of them. There are, I believe, 2 of the goblins, if I remember correctly, were reduced to ash or goop. There's a couple goblin bodies on the side of the road where they were disposed of. And 2 hills, one to the north and one to the south, that rise up about 15 or 20 feet, steep, grassy cliffs with trees on either side.
How far are the trees away from me?
About the 20 feet up the hill.
Okay, so Scurry at this point is gonna head towards the tallest tree she can see, and using her feline, I think it's agility. The cat claws. To climb the tree and get a better vantage point.
Yeah, absolutely. You scurry up the hill.
I scurry on up.
And rapidly climb the tree, and you see many more trees. You're on the edge of a small forest. You can see where a little ways where the road kind of moves under the canopy of trees, moving away to the east and back to the west. And that's about it. You're kind of in the midst of all these trees, and these trees aren't super tall.
There's lots of trees and a road that heads east. And I relay that and scurry on down. What are we doing now?
So, Scurry, what Meili is doing is she's trying to track where our 2 benefactors who paid us. They were obviously ambushed here and dragged off.
Mm-hmm.
We believe that they could still possibly be alive because they're not dead in the road with their horses, which means we've deduced that the goblins must be looking for something on them, and we deduced that if they're not dead by now, then they're being tortured. And I think while you were sleeping, and we probably should have consulted with you, we decided the best interest was to, I mean, even though we weren't paid for it, and I'm not an adventurer, but to try to see if we can save them. So Meili went to scout ahead to see if she can find a path to them.
He undersells his abilities. He's very talented at being struck by things, which is a very useful skill in fellow adventurers. Scory.
We use him as a shield, yes.
I would never call it a shield. It's definitely a shield.
I was definitely more of a magnet.
Very good. Very good. You are the new human shield. Very nice. Well, if we are just waiting, I'm quite hungry. And on that note, I scurry on over to the horses and see if there's any open wounds that I can get to some meat, because I'm quite famished.
Yeah, the horses are dead, and they've been pierced by arrows, and it wouldn't take much work if you were looking to get some meat from the horses. I would say If you're trying to be particular about what meat you get, I want you to make a check. If you're in particular, you can just carve in.
No, I'm particular. What would you like? What check?
I would like I'm going to call it a survival check because you're going to try to get to get a decent cut of meat.
16 plus 3, 19.
Oh yeah, you know what you're doing. You know your way around meat. And you can cut in and carve away some good meat from the haunches. So you can get a couple of good horse steaks out of that.
Fantastic. So devour one, save one for later, and then I head back to the crew, sit down, start licking my paws, and wait to see what we're doing.
Tara, anything in particular you're doing during this time?
Basically, I'm pacing at this point. I'm going to come back up to the cart, and I think there's something wrong. Maylee probably should have been back by now.
I thought we were taking like a long rest here while she.
You were taking a short rest.
Which is an hour.
A long rest would be 8 hours.
Okay.
Maylee, you hear the taut vine swaying back and forth. The tree branch is tied to creaking slightly. The entire world, your view, is upside down. The blood rushing to your head. What would you like to do?
It's just my legs that are tied up, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'd
it's what exactly what you would expect from a snare trap. You tripped it, the rope looped around your legs, dragged you upside down, and it's tightly wrapped around your ankles.
Yeah, so I'd like to the katana will give me a little bit longer reach. So I would pull that out of the sheath and try to cut the rope that is tying me to the tree upside down. I know it'll hurt.
Yeah, I'm not gonna make you make a check to cut a rope. But you basically kind of reach up. You're able to do a little bit of bending at the waist and pulling yourself up, getting your sword up there, and with a couple quick thunk, you drop to the ground. You will take 5 bludgeoning damage as you fall 10 feet. You fall and you hit right in the between the shoulder blades and at the base of your neck. You hit a fortunately very round rock, but you hit it pretty hard. Just miss hitting your head. I was just making sure that didn't knock you out.
Almost.
I don't know what they did on D&D Beyond, but they fixed whatever lag was there. I actually was looking at it when you changed your hit points and saw it. It used to take like 10 minutes to catch up. So, once you've freed yourself, what are you doing?
I am going to, once I hit the ground and kind of shake my head a little bit, kind of quickly look around and see if I'm in any immediate danger. And if not, I think at this point, does the path carry on any further, or did I kind of just lose it?
Oh no, you were on the path. You just didn't see that the snare was set on the path. It was just very carefully covered with leaves, and you can actually see now where the ground is disturbed, where this vine had been set. But yeah, the path continues on for a ways.
And for me, I haven't been. Yeah, I think she would carry on for a little ways longer along this path, trying to be a little bit more careful and looking out for any more traps like this.
So you're going to continue on.
Yes.
All right. So as you are continuing along, I need you to what is your No, you're actively scanning the area. So I'm going to have you go ahead and make a perception check.
Could I make a call for it being nature, as I'm looking for disturbance of like leaves, etc., from pit snares?
Nature is more used to determine the different types of foliage and the landscape, animals within that landscape. What you're trying to do is notice if that has been disturbed, and that
Yeah.
would be a perception check.
Perception. Okie dokie.
It never hurts to ask if you want to try to use a certain
Yeah.
skill.
I'm just not very perceptive. That is a 5. Yeah.
Oh boy. So you are carefully looking along as you move along, and for about 10 minutes, you don't see anything. Actually, for about 10 minutes and 1 second, you don't see anything. And you notice there's an area off to the side to the left side of the trail that it's a similar tree of size and shape to the one that the snare was set up on. But it seems too far away from the path. And as you're getting a look at it, you take another step and the ground falls away beneath your feet. I need you to make a dexterity saving throw. As you suddenly feel the ground you take that step and there's nothing there. Or rather, what was there is a thin netting of leaves that will not support your weight.
That's a bit better. I got a 19 on the dex save.
You lurch and you instinctively reach out to the side and you grab a hold of a branch from another tree, a small tree, very young tree off to the side. And as you grab it, there's this moment where the entire tree under your weight goes, and you find yourself leaning forward, and that's where you see you've now kicked aside this camouflaging, and you see that there is a 10-foot pit that you almost fell into. And you're just sort of, whoa, holding onto this branch, and just with a quick pull, you're able to pull yourself back to the edge. You did not fall in.
Yeah, Mei Lee at this point is now actually shaking a little bit. That's twice she's run into things that were not pleasant. This last one would have killed her for sure. She has no doubts. So I think at this point she's decided that enough is enough. She needs some help because she's not very good in this environment. She doesn't know what she's doing, honestly. Like, she's never done this before. So I think at this point she will turn around and go back the way she came, back to the party.
All right. So at this point, it's been 25 minutes since you've been gone. We're going to rewind for the rest of the party to that roughly 15-20 minute where we were and pick up exactly where you guys left off. What would you like to do? I think the last thing that was said that was that she's only been gone about 15 minutes. Tara seems to be pacing a little bit, is a little restless. What would you like to do?
I honestly think that we shouldn't have let her go off by herself.
Well, I think I think we decided that when she offered, and you got to have a little faith in each other. I think if since we're traveling together, let's give it. Well, I mean, I'm all for going to try to find her if that's what you all want to do, but we could also just cause more of a ruckus and whatnot. She seemed capable enough and confident. I I don't know. I'm used to traveling the roads, gambling and selling for my parents. I don't know what to do. I just take you all at face value, I guess.
Cully, are there frequently marauders on this current?
Uh, Clarification, DM, are there frequently marauders like this?
Make me a history check. We'll see what your awareness of the state of the road is.
History. 16. And I don't have any. Yeah, just 16.
Nothing serious. Occasionally, some would-be highway robbers set up ambushes and try to take on small bands, but this close to the larger cities, it hasn't been that much of a problem. So it's not super weird that goblins would be out and about, but it's also not super common.
There's a lot of that's. I mean, there's the dangers of the road and the animals and banditries, bandits, and human traffickers. Um, I mean, I really stay on the main road and rarely have problems traveling. It's when you defer off the main roads is when things happen because just stay alert. Um, but not like this. I mean, this is a pathway up that's going far off, and I think we started talking last 5 minutes ago about before Melee left that we were putting some clues together, and that was the tools in this cart are worth far less than what they paid us to get the tools there. And you had said there was a scroll case of some kind over there that was empty, and now instead of them being just killed in on the road and taken for their wealth, they were actually dragged off. I think there's more than meets the eye here, and we've got we have like we discussed, we have a job to do to drop off the tools, and that's that. But I think there's more to meets the eye. I got to be honest, I'm a little nervous about all this attention so close to home. It's I don't know. Part of me wants to go home, and part of me feels the commitment to go try to find our benefactors. I can't do nothing unless we rest a little bit. I'm just a little drained of my inner resources.
I tend to agree with you, but perhaps we should find our friend before we bed down for the afternoon. Afternoon, Jake? What time of day?
It was getting into the late afternoon.
Sure.
So I was actually kind of getting ready to message you guys. It would not be unreasonable if you wanted to take a long rest. The time of day it is, you would basically be resting until midnight or so. But it would not be unreasonable. Because that's the best time to go looking in the woods for goblins and whatnot is midnight. So everybody knows that.
Do we want to try to go find Melee, or do we want to keep faith in her abilities?
I think we should probably go and try to find her before she gets deeper into the forest. Because the more time she spends on her own, the more into the forest she will be, and the longer it will take us to find her, exposing us to more dangers, right?
I didn't think, but I think that she had said that she was just going to scout a little bit around the perimeter to see which way that road went. If you remember, because we ran off, her and I had ran off after fighting the goblins, got to a certain point in the woods, and we were like, okay, this is too far. We had the sense to come back. I think. Well, I listen. If I'm all for going to try to find her. If that's what you guys want to do, I'm all for it. Or we can stay here, or we can split up, or whatever you all want to do. I defer to you all.
I don't know that splitting up further is a great plan.
Yeah,
I agree. Let's not listen to the meat shield.
yeah. If I do split up, can I be with Scurry, please?
I
No.
don't know if it's a great idea to split up any further than we already have.
Well, I need the rest sooner or later. I didn't have the luxury of sleeping all day.
Hey, Jake.
Yeah.
While these two are doing their little soliloquy, Scurry's going to go over with, what is, hold on. When Cully mentioned that the items in the wagon were worth less than they paid us, I'm going to go sniff around and check the wagon for any sort of like secret compartments or anything out of the ordinary where something might be hidden.
Sure. Give me an investigation check.
Investigation. Oh. Investigation 17.
So you go to the cart, you pull back the tarp where you were lying. It's a canvas tarp. There are, at the back of the wagon, there were some barrels, a couple of full-size barrels, some smaller barrels. There was some crates, provisions, water. There was rope. There were several shovels, pickaxes. There were crude nails, pittons and crowbars, several bullseye lanterns. A couple of the barrels contained lantern oil. Looking at everything, it's hard for you to tell without a real context. Well, I guess before I say that, give me a history check.
History. Ooh, 21.
So you do have a good sense of the value of these items, and looking at all of these tools, Colley's not that far off from the amount that you. Well, actually, he's right. You were paid a fair amount of gold with the promise of potentially more gold, and what you were paid does outweigh the value of the equipment in this cart. As you are looking around, and you start shifting around some of the pickaxes and the shovels, you go to move one of the bullseye lanterns, and there's kind of like a like an apple crate that has 8 of these bullseye lanterns in it, and you kind of pick one up, and you can see there's no oil in it, but it feels heavy. And you pick another one up, and it feels heavy. And you take a closer look, and you realize that each one of these lanterns has in the base of it several gold pieces.
On that note, I head over to Undertow. Like, he's right. There's gold pieces in the lantern. All of them.
Um, that is interesting. Is this uncommon for traders to hide valuable things in objects?
Yes, where I come from, traders are very noble and honest. This is not the case.
Perhaps they are only hiding it in case of banditry.
So if we are to go off, should we not hide these items so they aren't stolen or found out by others?
Oh, I see.
Do I hear them talking? Do I hear them?
Yeah, you'd hear all this.
So that gold probably, how much is it if I look over at the lanterns? About?
You take one of the lanterns and open it up.
No, I just kind of walk over and I'm not going to take it from his hand. I'm going to say, can you just open it up? I just want to look inside, scurry, of how much gold's actually in there.
Yeah, I hand it over.
Yeah, look inside.
Here you go, meat shield.
So each of the lanterns, the bullseye lanterns, contains 50 gold pieces. There are 2 apple crates containing 8 lanterns each. So there's a total of 16. So if my math is correct, that would be 800 gold pieces total.
This, how many tools are there? Like about how many sets of tools are there? Is this enough for 20 people to go to work, 10 people to go to work, 5 people to go to work?
I'd say there's probably about a dozen shovels, a dozen pickaxes.
I'm gonna make an intel check to see if I would think of this. I want to play.
We could turtle the horses.
That gold is probably not something they were hiding. It's probably going the same place as these tools. They're going to hire a workforce with that gold. That gold probably wasn't their treasury or something they were hiding. That looks like it's payment for people they're going to hire. We have a much bigger task to see through to the end here, I think, regardless if our benefactors are alive or not. I gotta be honest.
Are you successful? Do you have success with overseeing and managing operations involving these strange sticks with flat ends and pokey parts?
I don't, but what I have is I understand barter and trade. My parents run a mercantile store, and there's got to be contacts. We're supposed to bring the wagons and cart to them, or was there somebody else? Or that was the person to bring the horse to. There's got to be somebody there waiting for them.
No, you were supposed to bring the cart to Barthen at Barthen's Provisions as well.
So I assume someone at Barthen's Provisions must know what's going on.
Well, you were supposed to meet Gundren in town.
Well, I assume to answer your question, I don't know how to hire a workforce to take under this, but if one is waiting there, then maybe there's a foreman or a leader or another, maybe there's a third benefactor, a third partner involved. But what I meant by our task is greater is now I almost have even more of a sense to make sure that this gets to the right hands, to the right people.
I would say about this time, because you guys have been talking for a while, I would say about this time, Melee, you would find yourself back at the road and emerging out of the trees and finding the rest of the party in discussion over the supplies, apparently. And I imagine, Tara, you would notice Melee come out of the woods as you were still kind of pacing around and just maybe listening in on this conversation. It would be you that spots Melee as she comes up out of the woods. She's looking a little worse for wear than when she went into the woods.
I head over towards her and see what's going on. Are you okay?
I've been better. And you can see that she's covered, like her clothing is now kind of dirty. There's maybe some stains of grass or whatever on her. She's got some leaves in her hair. She's bedraggled. She's kind of maybe like favoring one side as she's walking. So she's got like a slight limp as she's coming back to you. I didn't find anybody, but the path is well trapped.
That's good to know.
How far is the hometown from here? Location.
Let's see. I will have to backtrack just a little bit. Let's see. Here we go. Let's see. That is not the right map. I mean, it's not the wrong map per se, but it's showing me the. Is it showing me the player? If I recall, I'm having trouble finding the right map here. It's about a half a day. Maybe almost a full day. Travel to Phandelver.
What, Melee, do you need anything? You look terrible. Sorry.
I feel terrible. If I could sit. And I think she goes to get up onto the wagon to sit down on the bench seat up there and winces a little bit as she's puts the weight on that side that she was favoring, and then kind of sighs almost when she finally sits down.
Scurry will go up to her. Do you have any wounds that need tending? I have my herbalism kit.
Sure.
Okay. So in that case, Scurry will bring out her herbalism kit and tend to Melee's wounds.
An herbalism kit is actually used for the creation of potions and remedies. A healer's kit is used for healing.
Dang. Just kidding. Just kidding.
You make a pretty good effort at I'll tell you this. Make me a medicine check.
Yeah. Dang it. 9, 14.
Using some of what you have in there and doing your best, I'll say that you are able to create a rudimentary poultice for some of her wounds, and you are able to heal 1 hit point.
Melee is watching you curiously the entire time that you're mixing whatever you're doing. And she kind of questions, like her eyebrows raise a little as you come to her with this concoction, but she lets you apply it and immediately feels a little bit better. Well, thank you.
Excellent.
Lady.
Would you like some horse meat?
No, I'll pass on that one. Thank you.
Okay.
Speaking of the horses, I might have an idea. If we're concerned about hiding this money, In some regions, I believe it's called taunting. But that would be other terrain, not aquatic regions that I'm less familiar with. We could carve a small cavity inside the horse and hide the gold in the beast. Therefore, keeping it away from thieving goblin hands.
We also, not that that's not a fine idea, but we have a shovel right there in the car. We could just dig a hole and bury it by a tree.
But that would leave an obvious hole. If we tauntaun the horses, they're already mutilated.
Well, we would fill it and cover it. But I, I think what we were talking about last 20 minutes ago was our options are to either, I think at this point our options are either to rest, carry on towards the town. But I think what we were really all worried about was trying to get to the safety of our benefactors. And if we rest now, we won't be able to leave till nightfall. And if we're going to go after our benefactors, then we should decide to go and do it now.
If we go after them, we need to be aware that the path is well trapped.
Some of us are in no condition to endeavor to free our benefactors.
And some of us are.
I could also ride ahead to town. I know the path very well. I've traveled it. I could get there in, if I rode hard, Jake, how could I get there any faster than half a day?
We do have 2 horses.
So, if you were all to travel with your wagon.
You know, if I was, I'm sorry, I'm asking if I were to.
No, I know. I'm getting to that. If you were all to travel with your wagon, it would take you a full day's travel to get to Phandelver. If you were to use your horse and move rapidly, you would get to. You would be able to get there in a fraction of that time.
Do I know of any other places closer that where it would have people that would be willing to come and help and not just laughed away? Like,
you actually know that Phandelver is the closest place to where you are.
I mean, I could get to Phandelver in a half a day if I went on my own and took the shortcuts that I know. And if we all went, it's going to take a day. So we could rest and go after our benefactors at night, and hopefully their fortitude can outlast whatever torturing. They could also already be dead. They could have already been given up the information and tortured and be dead by this point. I say, well, let's just put it to a vote. And I mean, there's no wrong answer. Nobody feel bad or feel like being selfish. I for one, I'm not an adventurer. I don't know, but I have a sense of commitment to these gentlemen now.
I have a sense of commitment to the people in this group, and I don't think Melee is in a condition to travel at the moment.
All in favor of resting here and then maybe going to see our benefactors? Just raise your hand. All in favor of going after our benefactors right now before we rest? Surprising. The guy who slept the whole time is ready to go.
Yeah.
Did Scurry vote twice?
He did.
No, yeah, I did, but the latter is what I would vote for. What Scurry would vote for.
So let's maybe get off the main road. I know when I've traveled before with a friend or so, one of us would try to keep watch while the other one's rested, but it's also kind of really not the dangers of the night yet. We could probably get a good rest if we just moved off the road, maybe try to make a makeshift camp with the cart and what we have.
Fine, Meat Shield. Go ahead. Let's do it.
You all should
I'll keep watch.
you all should have some kind of packs, I believe, with bedrolls and such. So you without much effort, you'd be able to move your cart with the horse off to the side of the road, off of the main road, because where these hills are on either side, they sort of, as you come into this area where the ambush was set up, the sides sort of rise up. So you're able to pull off into the wood line on either side and set up a small camp. Will you be setting up a watch?
Yes.
Yes.
How many watches will there be?
Scurry will take first watch.
Maybe Scurry and his night vision should take a later watch than first watch.
How do you know I have night vision?
Because all cats do, including catfish. I'll say that I'm next to useless at night without light sources. So
That's fine. I'll take the night shift.
So how many shifts are you going to do? You got 8 hours, and in order to benefit, you can't take more than you need to be resting at least 6 of the 8 hours.
I'll take the first or the second two. I can also cast a light for it if you wanted to, but it might be more of an attraction opposed to a.
Well, you also could make a fire.
Mm-hmm.
we already know there's marauding goblins around. Why would we draw extra attention? I will take the first 2 hours. How's everybody doing in terms of feeling capable of not dying?
I'll take the last 4.
Okay.
All right, I'll take the second 2.
Tara, do you want to take the third 2?
Sure. I'm night blind, but I'll do what I can.
Oh, well, I think we're kind of circling the same night blindness at that point. So,
I'll take the third one when it starts getting darker, since if something does come, at least I can cast the light. Why don't you take the 2 while it's still light out?
it's reasonable.
So the second watch then.
Okay. So are you doing 4 watches then?
Yes.
And Maylee's just resting through the whole thing?
Yeah, because she's nearly dead. Yes.
Okay, so first watch. I need a perception check. And I'll say at advantage because it's daytime.
Oh. Plus 3, 17.
It's very quiet. Once you guys get settled in, you only hear the sounds, the occasional movement of your party, the wickering of the horses a little bit. They've finding a good patch of grass to chew on, birds, normal nature sounds. That watch passes uneventfully. Second watch. Make me a perception check.
Okay.
And you can do so at advantage.
Okay.
Because you're just getting it. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna have you make that one straight. Because it's kind of rolling into darkness. But it's still the time of year where it stays light a little bit later.
Okay, then it was a 15.
Your watch passes uneventfully.
Okay.
Third watch.
That's me, right? That's me.
I believe that is Cully. It is full dark. and you are a human, so you will be making your perception checks at disadvantage.
This really well. Okay, make them now.
Yep.
So roll 2 and pick the lowest. That's what disadvantage is.
Yeah, roll 2, take the lowest.
That one's a 9. Let's see what the other one is. What's on the floor? That one's an 8 plus perception, you said? Plus 4, so 12.
Okay, and let me ask, because Scurry, you did say you would take the last 4. I think, do you have a monk ability or some ability that lets you only take 4 hours of sleep?
No, he has.
I've just
slept for the last day.
Right.
True.
I'm just
kind
not
of forgot about
tired.
that. You've been sleeping all day.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I'm good.
So for the first, for during Coley's watch, you are also up. So I'll let you make your perception check at advantage.
Okay. So 12 plus 5, 17.
You both, Coley, you find yourself more relying on your ears. And you are hearing that transition from the daytime sounds of nature to the nighttime sounds of nature. The daytime critters shifting into slumber and more creatures and sounds transitioning in the night. And Scurry, with your vision, you can even see some of these. You see bats take flight from the trees. You see birds coming back to roost. Every once in a while, you see a roving raccoon or possum. But it seems otherwise to be pretty quiet in this area. Eventually, Coley, you turn in to get your last little bit of rest. And Scurry, you are left alone. I need one more perception check at advantage from you.
That's an at 20.
You notice as it begins to shift in past the midnight hour, you notice that some of the birds and critters in the area have grown quiet. Not total silence, but right near you, you hear the transition into it's just getting a little bit quieter. And you hear a twig snaps about 30 feet to the north of where you are, in the woods, in the same direction of the trail that Mei Li had previously scouted.
Can I see any sort of tall grass or shrubbery I can sort of dart into
There's plenty of
check?
foliage, bushes, all that kind of thing, trees. So if you want to try to hide, absolutely. Give me a stealth check.
Okay. 16.
You move into position to hide. And you listen, and you can hear now, very, ever so faintly, but with that nat 20, you can hear the subtle shifting of the leaves on the trail. It's so subtle, but you know it as very soft footfalls. Somebody or something is moving towards you, and they are trying so carefully to be quiet. But what they don't seem to realize is while they're stepping softly, you can hear the rattle and shift of whatever they're wearing. It's got a kind of hollow clicking sound to it.
Can I tell how many?
Yeah, you can see you can just make out the sort of grayish form of a single small humanoid figure, or goblinoid, I should say, figure moving directly towards you through the trees. And you can see that it has a bow drawn and an arrow knocked and is aiming right in your direction. And that's where we are going to take a break. We're going to go ahead and take a quick 10-minute break for refreshing of beverages, snacks, bio, whatever you need to do, as we will be back in just about 10 minutes. Thank you to everybody who has tuned in so far. We will be, like I said, we'll be back in 10 minutes. Stick around, and we still got some more D&D when we come back. All right. We are back. Tara, Undertow, Collie, and Maylee are resting in their in and around the wagon in the makeshift camp while Scurry maintains the last watch when she spots a goblin approaching her. Its bow drawn. It is now about 15 feet away from you, Scurry.
Is the bow pointed at me or in like a general direction, like moving around looking for things?
What you saw was the goblin. After you moved into your hiding position, you saw the goblin moving, and it was sort of scanning around. And then once you got locked in behind your tree, you saw the goblin just go and begin moving towards your tree as if it knows you're there.
What are my surroundings?
Forest?
What do I have? Okay. Could I potentially get around the back of the goblin? Do I have an avenue to get there? Can I see with my dark vision 60 feet around me? In theory.
You can certainly try. It will require a stealth check.
Perfect. All right. Yes. 21.
You see the goblin 15 feet away, moving slowly, stepping towards you. And as it's stepping, it almost steps on another branch. It looks down to make sure that it doesn't step on this branch. And in that moment that it looks down, you dart from behind your tree. Are you going to the left or to the right?
To the left.
You dart around, moving about 10 feet, silently and unseen, to another tree. From your vantage point, you can see the goblin step over the broken branch and continue moving towards where you were.
At this point, Scurry will approach the goblin from behind, claws drawn to not slice the neck, but grab the goblin and let it know that she can slice his or her neck pretty easily.
All right, I need one more stealth check as you're trying to move out from your tree and directly behind this goblin.
12, 18.
This goblin got a 3. You do so. You immediately just, all of a sudden, your claws are at this goblin's throat.
You make so much as a sound, you little goblin, and I'll slice your throat. Come with me to my party and tell us what you're up to.
As soon as you put your claws to its throat, you feel it tense up. But it doesn't do anything to resist feeling your claws against its throat. It releases tension on the arrow.
That's right. Lower that, goblin, and walk.
It's at your command. If you're pushing it towards the camp, it'll go.
Yep. We're walking towards the camp and back towards the party. Once we get there, I take the goblin's bow and arrow, throw them into the middle of the party. Look who I found messing around our campsite.
As Scurry says this and you toss its weapons into the campsite, they kind of clatter on the ground near you, Tara. You're awakened to the sound of a bow and a loose arrow clattering just a few feet from you, and Scurry's voice.
As a reaction, I draw my weapon. Oh.
And you quickly see Scurry has apparently captured a goblin. And the others of you would begin to wake up.
Tell us why you approach our campsite, goblin. What is your purpose?
Scurry, Are you sure he was alone?
He was the only one on the path, yes.
I'm not alone. There are hundreds of goblins.
Where are they? Are you a scout?
They're everywhere, all around you now. Can you hear them?
Insight check.
All right.
Perception check, I guess.
Okay.
I want to see if he's lying. That'd be insight.
Yep, absolutely insight.
I'm gonna listen for goblins too, Jake. I rolled a 17 perception plus 5, 22.
I have a 23 with guidance.
All right. Collie, what's your insight?
I have a total of 18 on insight.
That was close. Rolled an 18, but he's got a -1 to charisma. Yeah, he's lying. He's lying. You guys look around. You don't hear anything. You don't see anything. And you can tell from the look on the way this goblin's eyes are shifting. There's a bit of a moon filtering through, so you're seeing things mostly in silhouette, Collie, and Tara, and Mei Li, actually, for that matter. Actually, Undertow, you don't have dark vision either, do you? Scurry's the only one with dark vision, right? So everybody's seeing everything kind of in moonlight. But you can see its eyes are wide, and you see that its eyes are kind of flitting about. It is completely lying.
I'm going to walk up to it, and I'm going to snap and lunge and grab it by the throat. I'm going to lean in. And I'm going to say, if you lie one more time, my friend here is going to rip out your effing throat. So start talking and stop messing around.
I'm gonna take a moment.
Is that an intimidation check?
Yeah.
While he's intimidating, I'd like to kind of like slide in and be like, "Oh, Collie, we don't have to be this aggressive. Surely this Goblin friend of ours would be happy to share information."
I'm going to turn for the first time ever, and I'm going to look and just going to go, silence. And I'm going to intimidate the goblin. 19. Oh, I have intimidation too. Hold on.
Shall I slice the meat shield, blue one?
24.
Not just yet. We don't want to harm anyone at the moment.
Collie, you can feel it gulp as you're holding it by the throat. While this is going down, Tara, Mei Li, what are the two of you doing?
Personally, I'm keeping an eye out. Since they're focused on him, on the goblin, I'm keeping, even though I can't really see all that well, I'm trying to keep an eye out for movement.
Okay.
And whatever side of the wagon that Tara is on, Mei Li is on the other side, kind of doing the same thing.
Excellent. So Tara and Mei Li immediately go into a Overwatch, keeping security, pulling security while you are intimidating and interrogating this goblin. What do you want? What do you want? No.
Where are the people that were on the horse?
We take them.
Where are the people that were on the horse? And I'm going to squeeze his throat a little harder.
Cave. In a cave.
How far? How far?
That way. And he points along the path. Maybe an hour. Maybe less with you, long legs.
I let his throat go a little bit. How many more scouts and sentries along the road?
He looks like he wants to lie again, but he's looking at Scurry with her claws out. He's looking over at Melee and Terra with weapons drawn and at the ready. Undertow, he can't seem to get a read on. For every look at each other person, he gives a sideways glance at Undertow, like, and he gulps again. Ain't just Squawk. Just me.
How many of your friends, of your people, are really at the cave? And I'm gonna twist the story a little bit more.
No, I tell you, it's only me on the path. More in the cave.
How
Less than 20 goblin. And
Insight
Clark.
Can I make an insight check?
Yes.
What is a Clark, my friend?
Clark is boss.
Is he also a goblin?
Distant cousin. It's Bugbear.
Bear. I've heard about these.
But
Bears. I'm given to understand they like honey. Perhaps if we take him a gift.
he kind of looks at you, just he doesn't say anything. Were you insight checking him?
Yeah, I only got I rolled a 9 + 4, so 13.
He seems like he's telling the truth at this point. He's sufficiently intimidated by the clawed tabaxi, the weapons, and the giant human that keeps squeezing his throat. Less than 20 goblin in the cave. Clark is Bugbear. He is chief of Cragmo tribe. But Yemek doesn't like him. I don't know why my goblin just became Russian all of a sudden. That just happened to me. Apparently the goblins in Phandelver region are now Russian. Slavic. Yemek does not like Clark.
Are you Yemek?
I'm not Yemek, I Squawk.
Who is Yemek?
He's the other goblin.
One of these less than 20.
Are our two friends that were on horseback still alive?
The dwarf was taken to the castle. But the human, he is in the eating cave. We plan to eat him later.
Castle?
Can I ask you to repeat that description? I'm sorry, my internet got unstable.
The dwarf was taken to the castle.
Froze again.
The dwarf was taken to the castle. Did you get that?
The dwarf was taken to the castle.
The human is in the eating cave. We plan to eat him later.
What castle?
Cragmaw Keep. Cragmaw Keep is where King Groll and the rest of the goblins are. King Groll sent a messenger goblin a few days ago and tell us that we are to capture any peoples that come along the road and take them. And we are specially to take this Gundren Rockseeker and all of his things that he has with him.
Did he have anything with him?
He had a map.
A map to what?
Squawk don't know. King Groll want a map.
Huh.
So
Was it a
goblins,
pretty map?
goblins, they took him to the castle.
Where's the castle, Goblin?
The castle is that way. He points to the northeast. It's a long way. It's probably, for you, maybe a day or two. I don't know how fast you can move.
And
How long ago did they start? Go ahead, Scurry. Sorry.
how many more traps to get to the cave?
What do you mean, how many trap more?
You trapped my friend Chumili. She found multiple traps. How many more?
He looks over and kind of laughs for a second and then catches himself as he looks at Mei Li. She went swinging.
I'm sorry, my Goblin friend. Do you find the misfortune of my associate somehow humorous?
When he starts laughing, Scurry claws his leg.
Oh, make an attack.
17 to hit.
All right, roll damage.
Arm strike. +6, 1d4. 2, 6, 6 slashing damage.
You slice into his leg, and immediately a spray of blood spurts out. And he he grabs, and he collapses, and he is bleeding profusely.
I'd like to shove my finger in the hole. I'm given to understand this is how medicine works. So, it worked the last time, as far as I know. So, I gotta stop the bleeding. So, boop.
This is what happens when there's no cleric in the party.
It's true. Ignore the fact that I'm a cleric. I'm not that kind of cleric.
Oh, wait, you are a cleric.
I'm not that kind of cleric. Don't get excited.
This is what happens when there's not a proper cleric in the party.
What's better?
I don't know, what did I have you do last time? Make a medicine check?
You did. That's a natural 1. And I'm not really trying to make it better for him. So...
He is screaming very loudly. He is continuing to bleed profusely. Mei Li and Tara, it sounds like your companions are torturing this goblin.
No. You don't have to scream. This is better. I'm helping. This is what I do. I'm a cleric of the Tide Mother.
Turn around and walk back and... What is going on? You're going to attract more of these things.
Is the goblin still alive? He's just screaming.
He's alive and screaming, and he does there's a lot of blood. It does not seem like he is going to be around much longer in this current state.
I'm gonna ask him and really try to force him to answer the question. How long ago did they take the dwarf to the castle?
It was 2 days. 2 days. The messenger said that the Black Spider once was paying to find out where Gundren Rockseeker was. He wanted him in his map. So we just did as we were told.
I'll apply pressure to the wound to stop bleeding.
Give me a medicine check.
You said the Black Spider? What was her name?
He did say the Black Spider.
Okay.
18, Jake.
You start to apply pressure. He immediately screams out and tries to slap at your hand. You do stop the blood flow, and stabilize the bleeding.
Now tell me, how many more traps along the way to the cave?
There are only 2 traps on the trail.
She found both of them?
The snare and the pit trap. We don't expect anybody to go beyond that.
I look at Chumeli unimpressed.
Well, I found them.
Unfortunately, the hard way.
She successfully scouted ahead. I don't understand what the problem is.
Are you going to let me go so I can go back and tell the others that you are coming?
Oh, that seems wise, yes.
I have one more question. Were you the were you one of the goblins that was ambushing us that shot an arrow at us? Is he the goblin that Melee and I saw running off?
He looks over at the bow and arrow where it was thrown on the ground. I did not shoot any arrows.
You didn't ambush us on the
What
road
did you shoot?
earlier today?
Technically, it was not me.
What did you shoot, Goblin?
I shoot nothing. I just watch. When
Sure,
you kill
hold
the
on a
other
second.
goblins, I run back to tell the others. But then
Oh,
I
so it
realize.
was you.
But then I realized, Clark, he would be very mad if I came back and left you alive. I mean, he would be mad if I came back and... He would be mad.
So that was you that was on the road that tried to kill us in the group of people. And you ran when your friends were dead. is that
Squawk did
correct?
not try to kill you.
No,
Squawk
but you
only
ran after
watch.
your friends. Yeah.
You tried to kill Squawk.
Wouldn't say I tried. Does anybody else have any questions for this thing?
Can we kill him now?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
I need him to make a dexterity saving throw at disadvantage because he's grappled.
Wait, who? The Squawk?
The goblin. Yeah.
Well, at disadvantage, that is going to be a 12.
Yeah, he's going to take 6 points of radiant damage as steam erupts around his face and melts his flesh.
Are you going to let them... What is that?
Now she'll know where
He
to
only
find
had
him.
1 hit point left.
Now she'll know where to find him when he crosses over.
So do we go to the eating cave or the castle or
So
to the town?
I
I think
have
we finish our 2 hours of rest, so we're not all on the verge of death.
No, you were pretty much at the end of
Oh,
your...
okay.
You were right at the tail end of the watch.
Oh, you want to go back to sleep now? That seems.
Yeah,
Sure.
you got to get that last 20 minutes.
Right?
Yeah,
Or you got to start the 8 hours all over
Right.
again.
makes sense.
Bonus news. Well, it sounds like Gundren, while captive, is not in immediate harm. If they were looking for him by name, I can't imagine they would jump to eliminate him. He seems like a valuable asset.
His fate is he's tied to them. They're bringing him to a castle.
But Saldar is in dire peril of being eaten.
Mhm.
The good news is that this little goblin, what was his name again? Does anybody remember what his name was?
Squawk.
And he certainly did.
Did not go back and report to the bugbear or the people in the cave what came of his party members, of his ambushing team. So we have an element of surprise of going back to that cave to save the one from being eaten as dinner. Now, I'm pretty good at casting disguises, and I can turn myself into the goblin and get into the cave.
You would want to be a goblin?
Just to look like him, so I can get much.
Oh.
They could be all be sleeping right now. They could just.
Can you even see in the dark?
No, but we have the moonlight at least, and I'm sure.
Not in a cave.
Well, I'm not trying to go into the cave. I'm just trying to see if they have sentries outside the cave.
Collie, how tall are you?
I'm sorry.
How tall are you?
5'8".
So
But I think-
you know that your ability to disguise yourself will allow you to shift your height up or down a foot. So you can make yourself look like a goblin, but you would be a very tall goblin. This
I
goblin's...
don't. Yeah. I
Is
didn't
it-
see the restriction of that on there.
Is
That
it the
restriction of
disguise?
1 foot.
Is it the disguise self spell?
just now.
What is it?
Here, I'll
Oh.
send you a message
but-
with what it is.
Yeah, disregard. Yep, you are correct. I thought you were using the disguise self. But no. So yeah, disregard that.
I'm open to options.
I mean, I think we're all feeling fairly well rested, correct? I would think that we could go and at least try to free one of our employees. A 2-day lead is insurmountable for us at this point. Like, our best hope for Gundren is to get this cart to town and then recoup and reassess and then seek out this castle. What did Squawk say this castle was called?
Cragmar's Keep.
Agreed. Is everyone ready?
Wait, I'm not even clear on what you're agreeing to.
What's
To go
What is the
to the cave
Go to the cave.
and get our.
Because Undertow just said something about traveling back to town and delivering the supplies, so that's where
Well,
it was.
before
Like,
we-
once we get him back. we're
Okay,
going to
okay.
town. Yeah.
So before we try to track
Follow
down Gundren, we'll go to town. But the immediate like thing to deal with is this person that's still alive that won't be long.
all right, Tara, Meili, thoughts? Are you in agreement?
Melee is all about saving Sildar if there's a chance.
I'm in agreement with that.
All right. So the 5 of you are going to head up the trail. You're going to leave the horses and the cart behind. There's plenty of grass and stuff for the horses to graze on in this area.
I'd like to maybe disguise the cart as best as we can so it doesn't, just look like there's a cart ready to be taken. If it's possible.
So whoever wants to take the roll, you're going to roll survival, and if at least one other person helps you, then you can do so with advantage. You're going to make a survival check to see how well you can camouflage your cart.
And I will guide whoever makes the roll in as well.
So that'll be advantage with a plus 1d4.
I have a +3 on the roll, but I guess that's not like a thing people know. So
I'm okay. I'm about as good as you are.
Okay.
With survival.
Why don't you make the roll then, and then just add a d4 with advantage.
Okay.
Jake, while they're making that roll, Paulie will go over and pick up the bow and arrow and walk off into the dark behind a tree and say he'll be right back.
Okay. For a second, because your internet did something weird, I thought you said you were going to pick up the phone.
Sorry.
24.
Meili, with some help of the others, you do a really good job. You know to move a little further away from your position and not take branches and leaves and stuff from the area that you're trying to camouflage. You know to move behind your position and pick up items to disguise it. And it's so well hidden that if you didn't know it was there, you might walk right past it.
How well trained are the horses? Can we get them to lay down next to the dead horses and pretend they're dead for 4 hours?
My horse is good, but he's not that good.
All right, so while they've successfully camouflaged the cart, Collie.
So I went and got the bow and arrow, and I walked off into the woods by myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna change my appearance to look like that goblin.
A few moments later, from the direction Coley went into the woods, you see what looks to be Squawk come walking towards you with a bow and arrow.
Goblin, what have you done with our friend Colby?
No,
I-
it's me.
I-
It's me. It's me.
You hear
Yes,
Coley's
the
voice.
Goblin.
It's Cully.
Oh, I'm very confused.
I'm so confused.
Is this a thing all humans can do?
Yes.
Experiences.
This is probably going to come in handy if we formulate a strategy together. Such as, hey, there's a bunch of people outside, and when they come running out of the cave, we have an ambush or a trap, or I walk up to the cave entrance and I cast light inside and we blind them all and then charge them and get them, or Scurry, you hang over the top and jump down on one of their heads if they come running out.
Okay, good
Before
plan,
you can
Mitch.
help us.
Let's go. I'm gonna take the lead
Perfect.
down the path since I have night vision.
So the five
And
of you.
I'm gonna check for traps because I don't believe Squawk along the way.
And I'll let you
Periodically
know
check.
as we're going when you're getting close to the pit that I did find.
Okay.
Perfect.
I'm gonna periodically give Scurry guidance scritches behind his ear, granting him a D4 on many of those investigation or perception checks.
All right. So, with Melee's assistance, 10 minutes in, you don't have to worry about it, but she points out where the snare tripped her up. Another 10 minutes later, and you see where the pit, it's a little disturbed. You have to look for it, but Melee knows it's there. It looks like Squawk may have tried to cover it back up, but did a really lousy job of it. So knowing that it's there, you're able to identify the pit trap. I need, we'll say 2 more perception checks to cover the next 40 minutes of walking, because Squawk told you it'd be about an hour to get to the cave.
Okay. So do I get it with the additional?
Yeah, you get
D4?
you get a perception check with a D4 on top of it.
4. All right. 4, 9, 13 on the first one.
And are you, as a group, attempting to move silently, or
I
are
am.
you just moving with confidence?
We
Basically, if you're trying to keep it quiet, I need stealth rolls from everybody.
we can try to keep it quiet.
We certainly
We don't have
can.
So I see them trying to keep it quiet. I'm going to say there's really no need to. I'm the last person alive in their eyes as far as the scouting party. Remember, there was only a small scouting party outside keeping watch. The rest are all in the cave already. The little goblin we just killed was the last one part of that party. They were supposed to be at the road and
Sure.
attack anybody that went by.
Sure. We're going
We
with
can try to-
confidence, Jake. We're going with confidence.
We can try to stealth check, but we're probably just gonna
Nope. We're
make a louder
going.
noise.
All right, so
We're marching.
that first 20 minutes, true to his word, you don't encounter any additional
Oh dear.
traps. Make another perception check with the guidance scritch.
11.
You continue moving along the path for the next 20 minutes. It's about 10 minutes into this 20 minutes, you see that a stream is meandering kind of parallel to the path now, coming out of the woods to the east. You're actually moving upstream. The path moves parallel to it on the left side of the stream, or on the west side of this stream. And you as you move into the area, you actually see that... Where'd my map go? You see the path open up into a sort of clearing, and you can see the stream, which is only about 2 feet wide, flows out of, rather, an opening that's a little more than 5 feet wide and about 8 feet tall, coming out of the side of a sheer rock-faced hillock, or hill. This hill, is probably a good 80 feet or so, mostly steep rock, and topped high up with mounds of grass. There's a bit of shrubbery to the west side of the entrance to the cave, and there's a small copse of trees to the east side of the trees. And this stream appears to flow into the dark cave. What would you like to do?
How deep is the stream?
You can see, because it's nice, clear, flowing water, that it's only about 2 feet deep.
Is it still nighttime, Jake? Are we still like 1 a.m. or right in that time frame?
At this point, it's actually about 2 a.m. because your watch ended. By the time you got your camp set up, you basically started your rest at around 5 p.m. You finished up, and with the interrogation and everything, actually, it's probably even closer to 2:30 in the morning.
So, Cully, you going in? Guns blazing?
I don't think that was one of the options to the plan.
Yeah, throw a big light in there. What are we doing?
I had suggested that if it's dark in there and we throw a light in, they may all come running out. I could also walk up and say, hey, I have some prisoners, and when they come out, we can ambush a couple of them. I mean, they said there's less than 20, which clearly outnumber us, so some sort of divide and attack would make work.
Remind me, does anybody here speak Goblin?
I do.
That's fitting because when that came up last session, you were asleep.
Nice.
When the goblins came out. So you all hear from the small copse of trees which is actually a little more than shrubs, 5 to 8 feet tall in places on the east side of the opening of the cave and just across the stream. You hear coming from there, and Scurry, you actually hear, Spock, what is you doing? How did you get so many prisoners?
Ollie, he's asking you how you got so many prisoners.
I'm going
Quick,
to answer.
say something.
I'm going
In
to answer.
Goblin. In Goblin. I what do you want to say? I'll tell you. Quick.
I'm going to answer in primordial. And say,
That's not Goblin.
That's not Goblin. You moron.
one of them cast a spell on me. I can't speak anymore.
You're saying it in primordial?
In primordial, I will respond, that's not Goblin, that's primordial. They probably don't understand you.
Can I see the goblin who just talked to me?
Well, first, I want you to make a performance check.
We're gonna die.
Performance check. Perfect. +3. Here we go. That's an 18. 21.
Okay, you actually beat a nat 20. Because nat 20s are just 20s on skill checks, which makes his ability to decipher that a 19. Scurry, you hear in Goblin, you hear two voices. I don't know what is wrong with Squawk. He's acting very weird. They don't look like prisoners. Should we kill them?
He's saying they should kill us. Quick, do something.
And now
Don't say something.
you guys can make a perception check in the direction of the voices.
18, 19.
I can make that. I'm sorry, you broke it up.
23.
Yeah, everybody can make a perception check in the direction of the voices to see if you can spot anybody there.
I am looking in the opposite direction. I got a 1 on the die, so that's a 2.
You're hearing the voices bounce off of the cliff walls, and you can't tell where they're coming from.
I did slightly better, so I'm kind of looking in the right direction.
You
I'm
think the
trying to get
voices are coming from inside the opening of the cave. Undertow, Collie.
I got a 20.
Yeah, a 17.
Collie, Scurry, and Undertow. What did you end up getting, Tara? What was your number?
I ended up getting a 7.
So, Undertow, Scurry, and Collie, you can see that there are 2 goblins on the other side of those bushes. You see them shifting, and they're both holding bow and arrow. And surprisingly, from your vantage point, Tara, you can actually see one of them. He's on the edge and is not quite hidden by the bushes, but he's looking through them at the others. His stealth check was a 4, so somehow Melee still didn't see him.
Point at the one that was just talking to me?
Yeah.
Do I have a second here?
Yeah, you can point at him.
I point at the one that was just talking to me. Is he within 30 feet?
I believe so. Let's see, 5, 10, 15, 20. Yep.
I'm going to point at him and like act like I'm still talking like in Primordial, and I'm going to cast True Strike on him.
And that is going to kick off a roll for initiative.
True Strike go off?
No, that's going to trigger the initiative because you are starting to... Actually, you know what? Because True Strike is... You're not actually attacking. I'll allow it. Yeah, I'll allow it. So, I don't know why I did that. So, there's some... All right, Tara, what'd you get?
I got 13.
And Melee?
12.
Undertow.
14.
Scurry.
9.
Coley.
You get a plus to your initiative, right? Where is that on your character?
It's your dexterity bonus. But it should be in the middle top. It says initiative.
I have 17.
Okay, so it's going to be Cully, Goblins, Undertow, Tara, Melee, and Scurry. Cully, what are you going to do?
I am going to act like I'm having like a shakedown because I can't talk. Point at Scurry, and then point at Melee, and then point at the Goblin I just cast True Strike on, and I'm going to cast the Chaos Bolt on him. Did I freeze?
No, you're good.
Heard everything? Okay.
Yep.
So I think you said True Strike went off.
Yeah, you did that right before to trigger the initiative.
So I think that gives me advantage, right?
Yes, it gives you advantage on your first attack roll against the target.
Yeah. Attack target provided this. Okay. Yeah. So it's been within a minute. Okay. So roll 2 dice to pick the highest, right?
You're doing what? Are you doing Chaos Bolt?
Chaos Bolt. Yeah. So that's a melee. That's a range attack plus 5.
Yep. And you roll
2 dice.
Well, yeah. Sorry, yes. 2d20. Take the highest, add your modifier.
My highest is a 16 plus 5, so 21.
Yep, that absolutely will hit the goblin.
Blue dice determines what type of damage it is.
Yep, 2d8 plus 1d6 damage.
Oh, and the 8s match. So 3 and a 3, so it's fire damage. So they take 6. It takes 11 points of fire damage.
Okay. You see the entire area of this, what is essentially a blind that these goblins were behind. Immediately, the whole area around the cave, the mouth of the cave, everything lights up as you launch this chaos bolt, and it bursts into flame. Parts of the shrubbery actually catches fire, and you see the goblin itself is completely engulfed in flame and can barely choke out a scream before it collapses into the bushes, setting them alight. And then you get to make a new attack roll against the second one because of the doubles.
He's within 30 feet.
Yeah, they're right near each other.
So attack on him. That is an 11 plus 5, 16.
Yes, that will also hit.
Blue dice determines the damage type. So 12, 13, 14 points of thunder damage. I love this spell.
There is immediately, after the goblin collapses and as this fire goes off, you all hear and that goblin is thrown backwards and into the other bushes. The force of the thunder sort of pushes some of the burning bushes into the stream, and the remaining part that was burning begins to burn itself out. There's still a few glowing embers, so this area is illuminated. And you can still hear the remaining peal of thunder rumbling over the hills. But you have just killed both goblins in the very first turn of combat. What would you like to do? Let me ask this. How does everybody else react to this? As Cully has just launched fire and then thunder, and
I'm hiding, Jake. Scurry
doesn't like storms.
No, I know that there's 20 goblins in there, and I'm expecting all of them
waking up.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm running up a tree, hiding in a bush, just waiting for the rest of these goblins to come out, because there was a giant thunder strike and fire that erupted right in front of the cave.
And Mei Li and Tara, since you were primarily, well, Tara in particular, you were focused kind of on the mouth of the cave because you had misheard where these goblins originally were, their voices were coming from. In the wake of this thunder, you hear from inside the cave this what sounds like more than one dogs or wolves barking and howling.
How wide is the mouth of the cave?
Maybe 6-7 feet.
I would like to use shape water to pull water out of this stream and make a 5 by 5 by 5 foot cube in the middle of the doorway to this cave. And then if nobody stops me before my next round, I'd like to use shape water again to turn that cube of water into ice.
You watch what does it look like as you're doing this? Is this you
it looks a lot like an oh shit moment. I frantically, it's not like graceful like a waterbender would be. It's frantic and looks like you're bailing water, but kind of into a boat instead. as like this big glob of water comes out of the stream and like shapes kind of neatly in the doorway. And then I like kind of like tap my foot for approximately 5.5 seconds while I wait for my next turn to come up. And then I turn it to ice.
So you watch this bizarre motion happen in just a few seconds of Undertow as part of the stream lifts up and blocks the opening and then turns to ice. What did the rest of you do? Scurry's up a tree.
So
I'm moving away from the entrance. I'm moving further and further away every chance I get.
Okay.
So Maylee was, totally unaware of any of that happening, kind of, and all of a sudden, kaboom, and her attention snaps towards the fire, the thunder, seeing the chaos erupt, and her first thought is to go up to the cave entrance, actually, and go to one side of it, so she's against the cave wall, and she's got her her katana ready for anything that would come out of the cave. And then, of course, Undertow puts the nice ice wall in front of it, so she's happy.
You can actually see, though, that as the water rises up and takes shape, and you watch it just sort of and then you watch it begin to crystallize a few seconds later, and there's still about maybe a foot on either side of it, and a couple feet above it, and you hear and then you hear from somewhere distant, you hear which Scurry, you hear in Goblin in a much deeper voice, what essentially translates to "shut the hell up or I'm gonna beat you."
Where am I hearing this from?
It's
Jake?
coming from within the cave. You can hear it coming because there's still space around this ice block. It sounds muffled and slightly distant. And after a moment, the barking and howling dies down.
Blue water god. There's
Yes.
There's a deep voice in the cave that's talking about killing maybe the dogs, maybe our benefactor. How the hell do we get in there now?
Oh, we just swim through the stream.
Oh yes, because I like water. Good.
I don't understand the problem. Of course you like water. Water is what keeps us alive.
I have hair all over my body. When I get
So
wet,
does the human.
it makes me. This is true. I do not want to swim in the stream. Are there any other options?
Well, the stream the stream currently has a 5x5x5 cube of ice sitting in front of it. There's water flowing around it.
I mean, I could stop the stream temporarily, but you'd have to make it through in a very small amount of time.
Can we
It
swim
would be easier
under
just
it?
to swim. What?
Can we swim under it?
Under the stream?
Under the giant ice.
Oh, I had
block thing.
envisioned the ice block being on top of the water, not like in the water. But
it would until it froze, and then it would drop down. I mean, your spell doesn't give you the levitation ability.
oh, I guess like I'm not envisioning. I guess I thought the stream was a separate place from the entrance to the cave.
No,
but-
it's coming out of. You basically blocked a big portion of the cave entrance. The stream is pouring out of the mouth of the cave.
No, you're just gonna have to get damp. I don't know what to tell you. I can make it so you get less damp, I suppose.
How far away are we from the cave?
Well, you guys kind of ran and moved away from it, so you guys are a good 30, 40 feet.
Alternatively, we could wait an hour.
Basically, the way it is, the way the situation is now, you can wait an hour for the ice to melt.
Mm-hmm.
And I would actually say, because it's sitting in flowing water, that it might actually be more like 45 minutes or so. But you could all try to squeeze through the space on the top of the ice block at the top of the opening of the cave as well.
Well, I'm much smaller now. Can I get through there easier?
Oh yeah, you'd have no problem. Anybody would be able to fit through there. It's a little bit of a tight squeeze, but you got a nice wet ice block to to help you glide through.
Well, there was less than 20, and now whatever that number is, there's -2. Our odds are getting better.
And now we're squeezing through a tiny space that they can shoot us at.
And we've added dogs.
Maybe that's part of the 20.
But maybe it wasn't. See? That's
Be alarmed by the ice cube, so I don't think they'll be alarmed by us squeezing through it.
Jake, can I scout for any entrances or false areas on top of the cave? Is that an option?
I mean, you can
around
see
the cave.
You can see
Or
that
is there
this
nothing?
whole area is just sheer cliff going up about 50 feet or so. There doesn't appear to be any other openings. It looks like this is the only way in and out of this cave.
Sweet.
So you either squeeze through. I mean, you realistically, somebody could attempt to look inside and see if there's anything to be seen. Or you can crawl through it, or you can wait an hour.
or we could take advantage of the fact that it's a narrow doorway and shoot goblins as they come through.
This is true.
We need
Just
to
like-
formulate.
I like that. I like that plan.
Plan or consulting the cards.
Everybody make a perception check.
20, not natural.
18.
17.
I have an 8.
11.
What did you have, Melee?
17.
Melee, Scurry, and Undertow. Since you've been trying to decide what to do, you keep looking at this opening, and you see right at the top, in that space between the top of the ice block and the cave, no sign of goblins coming out.
Sure. I mean, we could draw their attention with a light spell.
They could also all be sleeping right now, and the dogs we heard could be their only like watch. They're on their watch. Does anybody cast some sort of
Are goblins
Why-
nocturnal?
Why don't we do this? Why don't I think we wait for the goblins outside. I will call for help in Goblin and see if we can draw some out.
But if they see you when you call for them in Goblin,
You can stand out front.
but I'm saying if they saw any of us out, would they not try to get others to come out and help as well? I thought we were trying to nullify their numbers.
Yeah, but
Exactly.
if
We
they're-
have goblins squeezing through a small area. We can pick them off as opposed to ourselves going in and getting picked off.
I pull out a deck of cards. Yes, I like this plan.
Okay.
As these three are debating, I'm going to plop my butt on the ground, have my crossbow out just at the ready, and keep going.
I love this. The sassy but silent, or silent but sassy Terra, just letting them bicker and argue amongst themselves, and you just, all right, just plop down and brace yourself on your knees as you just kind of sit there and, all right, even though it's you said crossbow, I 100% picture like a cattleman's rifle or a Springfield rifle, and you just like reach up and tip your cowboy hat back a little bit.
All right. So, Jake, what we're going to try to do here is Collie's going to be up front, visible to the, I guess, the area that the goblins could come out. And I'm going to call in Goblin. Help, help, I'm trapped. Someone come help me.
For clarification, Jake, I'd like to be within 10 feet of some sort of boulder or tree that I could get behind after I can, like something to where if I'm out in the open and this goes bad, something I can get behind with that wind move ability.
Okay. Yeah, there's a pretty good sized copse of trees here, even with some of them burned away.
I'm going to try to hide behind something as well as I
Scurry, I need a performance check.
While he does that, can I cast light on a stone and jam it in the slot? A small one, so we can see what's coming down that tunnel.
You're going to like jam it, like throw it
like
down
toss it through the above the ice block.
Okay,
so
yeah.
It lands on the far side of the ice block. Oh.
So Tara Deadbranch has taken up a seated, supported position with her crossbow, watching the opening. Undertow grabs a rock and casts light on it and is tossing it in as Scurry is yelling out, help, 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 in Goblin. Collie is the face of this ruse, standing in view but ready to hide. Maylee, what are you doing?
I'm still by the cave entrance waiting.
And Maylee is waiting nearby up against the wall. Scurry, I need a performance check.
The 13.
You hear, as you call this out, you hear your voice in Goblin echoing through the cave. You can see a weird play of light coming through the semi-translucent block of ice. These crystalline white and blue light is dancing around from the water on the other side and the ice. You hear and what you hear, Scurry, is this deep voice that says, somebody go see what is going on outside.
They're sending someone to check.
Only one
Be at,
person comes.
I don't know. Be at the ready.
All
Only one
according
person
to
comes. Let them
Tara,
come to the ice.
be ready with your bow.
Let them come to the ice first.
Yeah.
Don't shoot us. This is a very loose
You hear
plan.
more barking and howling. After a moment, you see on the other side of the block of ice, you see a silhouette from the light cast. You see the light shift as it seems to rise up from the floor, from in the creek bed. It seems as though somebody or something has picked it up. There's a sudden cast of shadow as the light appears to now be backlighting a figure, and you can see the clear outline of a goblin cast through this melting block of ice.
I needed to make a dex save.
You can't see the goblin. You can only you're seeing the silhouette of it through. So if this relies on sight, then you don't actually have line of sight.
All right. I begrudgingly acquiesce to your will.
This is a 5-foot thick block of ice that's not
Yeah,
completely translucent.
I know.
How big is it? It's 5 foot by 5 foot by 5 foot.
Yeah.
You
Can
see,
I go ahead?
you see a second later more shadows as several goblin forms begin moving towards you or towards
Just
this block
kidding,
of
there's
ice.
more than one.
The light appears to be shifting around, and then you see a shadow on the backside of the ice, and you see a single goblin face peer over the top of the ice block. Now it is in line
Now
of
I
sight.
needed to make a dexterity saving throw.
That is a 6.
He takes 8 points of radiant damage.
There is this burst of steam, and you hear this goblin scream. It echoes from inside the cave. The light seems to take this weird sort of and almost seems to recede a little bit. And then almost immediately, man, I wish I normally have this right here, and I don't have it because it would be so much cooler if I did. But you hear a clanging of a bell. I actually have a little bell around here, and I can't find it. But you hear this clang, 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 clang as an alarm is raised.
Blue
And that is
water
where we are going to end this session.
Have
Because
you heard the term stealth before? No? Okay.
oh, here it is. Wait, that sounds like a Santa bell.
Well, you said he picked up the light and they were moving around. More shadows were coming up. I was trying to say I wanted to do something. I think I froze. I don't know if it's too late, but I just wanted to touch the cube of ice and cast light on the entire cube of ice.
Okay.
And I wanted it to be red.
Sure. All of a sudden, as this alarm is raised, Cully touches the ice block. The entire thing turns red. And that's where we're ending the session.
There we go. Okay.
All right. So some plans are there. There's lots of plans that are made and loosely kept. There's a fair amount of debate happening. The plans are seeming to be in an ever evolving state. Mei Li and Tara seem to be content to let the three of you plan and then simultaneously or sequentially dismantle your own plans while they provide Overwatch for the three of you. Oh, well, it was definitely nice. It was definitely nice having you back, Mike, having the whole group here. Cajun Kevin in the chat says that we need a Goblin shirt. I might have to test out my drawing skills and see if I can get us a nice Goblin illustration and maybe make that happen. Keep your eyes out for that. No promise. But yeah, thank you to everybody who tuned in tonight. We had a few people watching with us this evening while we played. Just a reminder, this campaign, Legends and Legacies Tales of Phandelver, is an every other Tuesday game because on those opposite Tuesdays, Karen and I are over on Dice on Ice RPG channel playing in a Curse of Strahd campaign. Let's see. We have this week on Thursday, we have Dawnbringers coming up. Dawnbringers had a literal, well, not cliffhanger, but the people they were sent to rescue were literally had the blocks kicked out from under them at a good old fashioned hanging in the town square, and that's where we left off last session. Friday night, I will be over on the Nerdarchy channel for the new season of the RPG Crate Nerdarchy game. with a few other wonderful players, DM'd by Ted from Nerdarchy, who was also one of our Dawnbringer players on Thursday. And that is a monthly campaign. And then Sunday, we will be returning with session 52 of our Jolt of Personality Tomb of Annihilation campaign that Karen has recently joined. But yeah, be sure to tune in every other Tuesday for Legends and Legacies, Tales of Phandelver. I want to say a huge thank you to Yvonne, Karen, Brian, Mike, and Todd for coming together as amazing players. I love starting a new campaign out at level 1 and just seeing what you guys are doing with what you got. You got a mix of squishy characters that also have some pretty powerful stuff that you can do, at least to these goblins.
Level 2.
Not yet.
Hmm.
We are using milestone leveling, and you've actually only defeated a grand total of 7 goblins, which would, if we were doing experience points, would be a grand total of 350 experience points across the entire gamut. So, yeah, you wouldn't be leveled yet. What happened? Oh, looks like Todd ducked out.
Yeah,
What did he say? Oh, okay.
just having internet trouble at the hotel.
Yeah, I know he was having some internet difficulties. So, yeah, be sure to tune in 2 weeks to see this game. Tune into all those other channels. And I do want to say one last thing. In addition to, there's a link in there, thanks to Cajun Kevin in the chat, for the merchandise, for the new merch store. But also, if you have not yet subscribed to the Mini Terrain Domain YouTube channel, please consider doing that, because as of this very moment, as I drag out that phrase just long enough to get to the page and actually look at what the total is, I can tell you that my subscriber count is 9,984. We are 16 subscribers away from hitting 10,000 subscribers on the Mini Terrain Domain YouTube channel, which will open up some new opportunities for the channel. So if you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing. Head on over there. We've got some wonderful new content coming. The VODs for these games will be up there this weekend for all 3, along with some other new and original content that will be hitting the YouTube channel very soon. All right. I've already thanked you guys. I've thanked the audience. I thank you again. Let's go ahead and get out of here, because I seem to struggle with that, saying goodbye. We're going to go ahead and end the stream now. We're going to end it the same way we end every stream. And you can say it with me if you want to.